Oh boy, a lot has happened in the last week, and we're not even through the week. Our colleague Pat Welter been breaking a ton of news about the toxic culture within the UNC men's football team, led by Bill Belichick. He's been speaking with players, parents, staff, the athletic department, UNC Board of Trustees members, getting a clear picture of what's happening behind the scenes, and multiple sources with knowledge of what's happening in the program say what is happening on the field, they're not performing very well if you've been watching, is really the product of a divided locker room, a disorganized coaching staff, and a failure to communicate.
I've heard this discussion about the chicken and the egg. What's causing what? Is the culture creating poor play on the field, bad atmosphere in the locker room, creating losses and kind of a bad atmosphere on the field? Or is it the other way around? Is the fact that they're not winning, the fact that this has become kind of a disappointment in the headlines, is that causing some of this other stuff to boil up and become more prevalent in the media?
Hey, if you like what we have been reporting, if you like our investigative work, please do like and subscribe to our WRAL YouTube page. It helps send us a statement that you like what we're doing and to keep going forward with it. These investigations take a lot of resources, a lot of manpower, and, we do it for you. So please do like and subscribe to our WRAL YouTube page to keep us, fueled up and driving forward. So since that initial report from WRAL, The Athletic, owned by the New York Times, is reporting that one of the assistant coaches, Armand Hawkins, is suspended amid the fallout from the reporting. The Athletic is saying that he provided extra benefits by giving some players' family sideline passes to a game. At this point, there's nothing to indicate that Bill Belichick knew about that. But if he did, it would be a problem because per his contract, Bill Belichick is responsible for not only his conduct, but that of his staff, which includes the assistant coaches.
Boy, isn't this the story of college football nowadays? I mean, one of the things that they were saying is making people so angry about this is by making it so individual to different athletes, saying, well, these people get special treatment and these people do not. But it's kind of the culture that is being built in college football nowadays, as they have the transfer portal that allows kids to go from school to school to school. And, when they go to these new schools, they're getting paid money a lot of times to do that. They're stepping in and taking the position from maybe a player who has been there for years, as maybe a local player or something like that. And that is going to create some type of resentment. And you don't have to think too hard about that to see that that could be easily a reality.
It certainly can create an individualistic mindset. And that was one of the examples that through Pat's sourcing, he was able to really get that example of players are selling their complimentary tickets instead of handing them to another player, perhaps one that doesn't have as many perks, maybe isn't getting paid as much money in rev share or doesn't have the NIL deals. So, saying, hey, bud, I know that you've got friends coming into the next game. Instead of just giving them the tickets, they're selling tickets. Now, we also know that this is something that happens across college campuses and has been happening for decades, players selling their tickets, but that is an NCAA violation. And so that's just one more example of the culture not being cohesive, just like what you were talking about, just sort of that individualistic mindset and where everyone's kind of out for, well, what's in it for me versus what's in it for the team. Now, I do want to be clear though, Dan, we got to talk about what UNC athletics department and what Bill Belichick are saying, at least publicly. They released a statement on X saying, Belichick saying that he is fully committed to UNC football, and UNC's athletics director, Bubba Cunningham, said that Coach Belichick has the full support of the Department of Athletics and the university. So at this point, there's no public indication that they're trying to part ways or anything.
Well, how extreme would that be if they really did? I mean, first of all, we're only halfway through the very first season that he has had.
Yeah.
And I know it's been a disappointment, but part of that is because of the buildup that came in to begin with. I mean, they built this guy up as this football god, which he certainly was pretty close in the NFL.
Yeah.
College, they admitted, was a different situation. And we're watching some of those growing pains, as painful as they might be, happen right now. But aside from that, it would be a pretty awful financial investment of the money of a public institution, because right now he is playing his first season, guaranteed $10 million. He's been guaranteed 3 years of $30 million, meaning if they say goodbye to him right now, we owe him $20 million after this season. And on top of that, they're then going to have to pay another coach.
One thing that I also think about is just human pride, right? So the Board of Trustees really pushed this forward. And the board of trustees don't want to look bad themselves, right? And so I also do wonder, we don't have any reporting on this. This is just me kind of just thinking out loud here. Like, I do wonder what level of pride there is in, no, just practice patience, because this is the guy that we chose. Like, we want this to work out, and there's still more games to be played, and it ain't over till it's over. So, like, let's just practice a little bit of patience here. I wonder what is going on in the minds of those board of trustees members.
You know, the thing is, too, Belichick, his legacy was built on winning. But when he wasn't winning, his style never really worked very well. When he was coaching for the Cleveland Browns and was not winning, they ran him out of town. And a lot of those reasons was because of the way he dealt with the media, the way he answered questions, the way he seemed to manage the organization. It wasn't until he went to New England and started winning consistently and racking up more Super Bowls than anyone that they turned it over and said, well, his little quirks are just the way his genius works. So, ultimately, a lot of people are thinking, look, would these discussions be happening if UNC was winning? And the answer is probably no. The fact is, not only are they losing, they're losing pretty spectacularly. I mean, they're getting stomped and pushed around on the football field.
It's so interesting to see. I don't know if you watched the Clemson game, but man, there were not a lot of fans in the stands, which was such a stark contrast from, remember, right as the season was starting, and there was all the buzz around Belichick with donations at an all-time high. Season tickets were all sold out, and all the home games were sold out. The earliest they've ever sold out a whole season of home games. Tickets, revenue sales, everything was up. Sponsorships, the list goes on. And now everybody's like,
Right. Well, I think, it is a little bit of a lesson on the marketing there, where when you don't really know what's going to happen, and UNC was not some powerhouse program to begin with. I mean, this was a program they were looking for him to turn around or turn this new chapter and create a program there. That takes time, regardless of who is coming in.
Yeah.
So they really did build this up for, the recipe was there for a letdown. I think it's just that the letdown has been so spectacular that it has made headlines in a very unique way.
Well, I brought up the contract, and I've been looking through the contract because he is, after all, the highest paid state employee. And I think it's important to look through the details. So I reviewed some of the clauses. We've also been speaking with some legal analysts in the newsroom. So can I read through a few things that I thought were of interest? One thing to note, there are a whole lot of things to point to. If you were looking at ways to part with him, you could look at a lot of different things, which, again, there's no evidence that this is happening. But there's a clause in here that says he could be terminated for cause if, quote, the coach's material failure to promote the fair and responsible treatment of athletes with regard to their health, welfare, safety, and discipline. Okay. He could also be terminated for cause if there was a violation by the coach or knowing participation by the coach in a violation or a violation which the coach condoned of a regulation, bylaw, rule, policy, or other requirement of the NCAA and ACC, because he doesn't just have to follow the codes and conducts of UNC, he also has to follow it of the NCAA, ACC, etc. Right. So basically, Belichick is responsible for making sure that he and all of his people follow the rules of the university, the NCAA, and the ACC, compliance with rules governing student-athlete benefits. We talked about the ticket sales. Complying with NCAA constitution, requiring coaches to ensure there is an atmosphere of respect.
When it comes to contracts, anybody who has ever signed one or read through one knows that there was a lot of gray language in there. And they do that intentionally, right? Because it gives everybody an opportunity to part ways and then figure it out in court later, which is often what happens in situations like this. So one way or another, Belichick is going to find a way to get money here. I mean, if they were to fire him today, aside from him just putting his hands up and walking away and shaking hands and saying, okay, all of this is stuff that could be argued by attorneys. And it would probably be what would happen if they fired him halfway through his first season or even after this first season.
Not to mention, this is a guy who has had a career of a very big name, and this is not how he wants to go down, right? This is not how he wants his legacy to be shaped. So, yes, I think we got to see what happens. At least publicly, the university is saying, we've got his back. He's saying, I'm with UNC here. I'm committed. So we'll see what happens.
I don't know how much people believe it, especially when you consider the Hulu documentary ended the way that it did. And again, they're not being very clear about what happened there. But on the production side of things, as we are, my wife does documentaries. I just can't imagine a documentarian being in those rooms, in those locker rooms, and going, wow, look at all these juicy headlines. Look at how much attention is coming to this program. Let's pack up and leave. Right? It seems pretty obvious that UNC said to them, we're done here. Yeah. And we don't want you to continue to get the kind of access to see what is really happening. We don't want this type of attention getting out.
We do not need a reputational PR knock.
Right. So, yes, the university is going to say what they're going to say. Fans are going to say what they're going to say. Regardless, this is not the type of attention the university was looking for when they hired one of the greatest coaches in NFL history.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll keep watching. There's a lot more reporting happening. We've seen Pat Welter buzzing around the newsroom. There's a lot more reporting that's going to be going down. So we'll keep watching. And again, like and subscribe to our WRAL YouTube page. Let us know how we're doing. Thanks.